Visitors flock to Deer Island today to enjoy unparalleled views of Boston Harbor, now one of the cleanest urban harbors in the world. Alongside one of the many paths is this easy-to-miss marker, a modest hard hat, memorializing several men who died working on the MWRA facility that occupies part of the island and led to the clean harbor we have today. Over a decade in the making and costing billions, the Deer Island water treatment plant was finally ready in 1999. All that remained was the opening of the sewer tunnel stretching 10 miles into Massachusetts Bay. 5 commercial divers were hired to drive specially modified Humvees deep into the tunnel, where they would remove 55 large safety plugs and drive back out. The tunnel, burrowed into the bay's bedrock, was devoid of light and oxygen, requiring the divers to carry a specialized breathing system. On a July morning, the 5 divers set out. More than 9 miles from the surface, disaster struck when the breathing system malfunctioned. 3 of the divers made it out alive, but 2 died. 33-year-old William Juice and 39-year-old Tim Nordine died of asphyxiation. Exactly what happened to those men is chronicled in the new book, Trapped Under the Sea, One Engineering Marvel, 5 Men in a Disaster 10 Miles into Darkness. And I'm joined by its author, Boston Globe writer Neil Swidey. Welcome, Neil.
Great to be here, Emily.
I got a good memory for news. 1999 was the year of the Worcester Fire, the year that Lenny Zakem died. This story seemed to go under the radar. Why?
2 reasons. One, it coincided with John F. Kennedy Jr.'s plane going down the same week,
Good
which,
point.
remember, had everyone's attention on it. The second reason was that the survivors, the divers who made it out alive, were the only ones who really knew what went on, and they didn't want to talk about it until many years later when I talked with them.
So this became a criminal investigation. You profiled this state police detective who really got into this as a possible criminal.
Absolutely. I mean, basically, her point was, this is Mary McCauley, a state trooper, who looked at this and said, hey, this was foreseeable. When you look at what these divers were given, what they should have been given, and what they were actually given to keep them alive, that is not an accident. That is a foreseeable outcome, and because 2 people died, people should be held accountable for that.
Okay, so the 3 guys who got out to take these plugs out of the tunnel, they had their own individual packs with them, so they were breathing. When they got back to this Humvee, which is backwards, they had 2 of the Humvees with them, they found the 2 guys slumped over. Why did that one oxygen system fail and the others did not?
Well, what happened actually was all 5 of them were breathing off the same breathing system. The 3 that were out at the very end of the tunnel, you know, at the end of this 10-mile-long tunnel, the foreman of that crew sensed trouble, and when he saw 2 of the guys collapse, he switched them to an emergency backup system that kept those 3 alive. But the 2 that were in the Humvee were not that fortunate.
Oh, so one of the guys who was outside of the vehicles was actually the one who switched over.
He did, yeah. He saw them, 2 of them at the very end collapsed, and they radioed back to the Humvee, which was, the guys were controlling the system for all 5 of them. But again, that system should not have passed the test.
It was, you describe it as something that was used to vacuum pack potato chips or something like that. This thing was never intended to be, this is it now. What's it called?
Yeah, there was a blender, Map Mix 9000 was the key centerpiece of this. But what's interesting to me and what drove my curiosity on this project was this, as you pointed out, this is a miraculous story, this cleanup of Boston Harbor. This had some of the best and brightest minds in the world that did the impossible and transformed this harbor. They made a host of good decisions over a decade, and at the end, why did they sign off on this plan and allow an engineer to create a plan that wasn't ready for prime time?
Because they had been pumping air into this tunnel all 10 miles down all along. Did they need to disconnect that when they sent the guys in to take the plugs out?
Well, this gets into a key issue, and that goes to organizational behavior. How smart people make bad decisions that can leave guys in hard hats to risk their lives in order to bail them out. And that became, at the end of this project, it was over budget, past deadline. The parties who ran this project couldn't get along. And so that led to removing all the life support out of the tunnel and then sending these 5 divers essentially to the moon. It just so happens that the lunar landscape they had to contend with was 10 miles into the Earth rather than orbiting around it.
Was anybody ever held criminally responsible?
No. And that's one of the things I point out in the book. As you go through this, one of the surprising things is Massachusetts is unlike 27 other states in the country that doesn't have a statute that would have allowed an easier prosecution of this case.
But the detective that you profiled, she wanted to. She was going after that architect for a long time. He lived in Canada, and he wasn't all that cooperative.
She did, and then someone in the Attorney General's office, 2 powerful sort of force of nature women who came into this project at the end and saw injustice and tried to get justice for these divers.
Is it too late now? Your book is out. Are people taking a second look at it?
You know, there's no statute of limitations on this, so you don't know. But one of the problems was this engineer had made these key bad decisions and kept information from the other players, but so many other people had signed off on it, so it became hard to focus on exactly who should bear the responsibility.
Right, Neil Swidey, great story, fascinating detail, and great writing on it, too.
Thank you so much, Emily.